Welcome, everybody, to the morning crypto market analysis. If you are someone who's been watching our content for a while, thank you for your continued support. If you are new to our content, hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and make sure you join the Discord community. The link is below. This is our Discord community right here. You can see we have a ton of different channels for all kinds of traders, investors, NFT enthusiasts, stock market enthusiasts, etc. So what do we have going for us today? First things first, I'm going to talk about Bitcoin on the smaller time frame and the larger time frame. Then I want to talk about altcoins, some specific altcoins that I'm watching that I believe are going to pan out really well in 2022. We're going to discuss a little bit about all things that are hitting us from different angles for the macro perspective. And does it even matter? Are we in a crypto bear market? I'm going to answer such questions. And then I also want to give you all some free alpha of One Harmony and where exactly you can find a good amount of yield for your passive income strategies for parking your money. And then finally, I want to look at an article by Jeff Dorman talking about how he has analyzed the macro misunderstandings of how crypto people see it, how he believes that the Fed itself is not going to directly impact crypto for the longer term. It may be a short-lived quote unquote bear market. So we'll talk about that stuff in a little bit. Okay. First things first, like I said, hit the thumbs up if you do enjoy our content. And if you've been recently just starting to watch, welcome, and make sure you subscribe and join our Discord community. The link is below. Okay, let's get started. So one thing I want to talk about from yesterday is that we had really just this, very rapid and sharp movement down and then quickly up, right? And this was very much tightly correlated with what happened in the stock market side yesterday as well. The ES quickly dropped a couple of percent, quickly ran back up basically by the middle of the afternoon. Same thing with the NASDAQ, and BTC basically did the same right there. So what I want to let y'all know right now is that we are in conditions of the market that crypto itself is not moving on its own. Crypto is beholden to these two larger indices that are working their way about in the US stock market. And the reason why that is because big money, especially from the larger funds and institutions, are either trying to crank up the fear or they themselves are a bit fearful of what's happening on the Fed side, and they may be de-risking. And all that stuff is eventually going to add up into crypto and specifically BTC. And that, of course, in some way drags down other altcoins that we generally watch. DeFi blue chips have been really getting hit basically since the last several weeks that Bitcoin's been getting hit. Some have been very fortunate to create some local highs, right? Even one token, you can kind of see one token doesn't really look that bad, right? In terms of the upside from what happened in December down here after Bitcoin kind of sold off. One token basically ran back up towards its highs before it sold off. FTM, similar thing. FTM topped off in October, had a pretty sharp 50% sell-off or so all the way till December, and then ran back up very close to its highs. Even though these assets are right now somewhat struggling to break back up and put in new all-time highs, this is a very positive development on some assets within the DeFi space. FTM, one token, Near, and then Atom as well, right? You can see a lot of these assets have way better structures than if you look at something like BTC. And that makes sense because Bitcoin itself is, whether you want to call it a boomer coin or really a risk on bet on crypto by the larger, Wall Street people, right? It doesn't matter, okay? But the fact of the matter is crypto itself has now segmented into market. And that's a good thing. That means that the market itself is getting mature. This is one thing that Jeff talks about in his article, and he also talks about it in an exchange with me right here, which is, talking about there are different aspects to crypto that are working their way through our ecosystem, through our crypto economy, if you will, that can move on their own without the permission of Bitcoin. And that was not really the case if you're around in 2017 and 18 and 19 and even 2020. And this is a good thing because what this helps us understand is, okay, contextually, if Bitcoin kind of shits the bed today, what are some assets that we should look at that can possibly perform in a pretty promising way over the next few weeks? Well, if Bitcoin is range bound here, which it really is, it's not really done a whole lot other than the fact that it's just stayed in a range right here. So if BTC is just range bound here, what can we expect for other good solid assets? Well, a few that I'm paying attention to definitely is Atom, right? Cosmos. FTM is another. One Harmony is another. Luna is also another. Sushi is another. And then you have some on the outskirts like Link, which surprisingly has been doing really well the past, week or two. We already spoke about Near, right? Near, there's a big fan base for Near that's coming up, almost similar to the way that what happened with Solana back in mid 2021, right? So as of right now, I'm looking at those assets that I just listed as ones that can possibly outperform if and when BTC kind of bottoms here, if and when all this macro stuff kind of goes away and stops really beating up our market. Those would be the assets I think you want to be focusing on. Now, the other thing I want to give y'all is just free alpha, okay? And what I mean by that is I made a video for my Advantage members a couple of weeks back, right at the beginning of the year, actually, talking about what is the one bubbling ecosystem that I'm a big fan of right now. And that is One Harmony. Now, I know everybody's talking about Near, and I have yet to fully experience what exactly is happening in the Near ecosystem. But I'll tell you what I do have experience with right now is the One Harmony ecosystem. From using their bridge to using their different DEXs, to using DeFi kingdoms, it is a phenomenal bubbling ecosystem, and you should definitely be paying attention to it. So first thing I want to talk about is the token itself, One Harmony, right? One of our members actually had mentioned One Harmony to us way back here around July and August. And I'm really mad at myself that I did not explore that ecosystem back then. But I don't think now is too late. Because even after this breakout right here, right, as long as you get somewhat of a range bound movement here, if you see a range develop right here, you want to basically be a buyer at the mid range or at the bottom of the range. Not investment advice, but that's what I'm going to be doing. Because there is so much happening on the One Harmony ecosystem, and that in itself is actually taking away from what other ecosystems are able to offer. Remember, we spoke about the idea of low market cap bias, okay? Solana having a market cap of $42 billion and Avalanche having a market cap of 20 billion. And where is Luna? Luna having a market cap of 25 billion, Cosmos having a market cap of 10, Near is 9. And then you go down here, Phantom is 5.2. And then you go down a little bit further and you'll find One Harmony down at rank 49, 3.1 billion. Now, why is it that these bottom market caps matter? Well, they matter simply from a comparative basis, which is that the potential upside to the token when you start driving up utility in the ecosystem, that means the upside to the market cap is that much higher. You cannot double and triple Solana, which is a $40 billion market cap, that easily. You cannot double or triple Luna, which is a $25 billion market cap. But you can double and triple Phantom, which is 5.9 billion. You can double or triple Near, which is 10 billion. Even Atom, which is 10 billion. And then, like I said, Harmony, which is 3.1 billion, right? These things can double and triple pretty fast, and they're not going to make a huge impact in terms of larger market cap. They will just climb up, 10, 20 ranks, but they're not going to get into the top 10 rank. And I think that in itself is showing you an indication that the market for these newer L1s that we have, the One Harmonies of your world, the Near Protocol, what was it, FTM, and then Atom, right? These are the assets that you definitely want to be paying attention to. Okay. Now the alpha that I want to talk to you all about is on ViperSwap. Okay. I already told Advantage members, this is some of the pools that I'm in. Viper UST is one. I put some money in there a couple of weeks back. And then there's this one right here, which is one Viper. And I just put some money into this just yesterday or 2 days back. Okay. So I'm just letting y'all know I have some money in here. So, not investment advice. Sort of showing y'all a full disclaimer that this is where I'm parking my money, because look at the APRs on this, right? 1,300%. Look at the APRs on Viper UST, which is a stable actually. And even half of a stable coin in terms of this pair is still at 1,148%, right? APR. I mean, that's huge. You're basically, getting a ton of return for parking even a little bit of money. And this is where sort of passive strategies can really help you when the markets themselves are really choppy, right? Obviously, please do your research. This is not financial advice, but this is where I have some of my money parked. Now, moving on to some of the things regarding macro. Now, one thing that Jeff points out in his article, his blog here, you can find the blog on ar.ca/blog. Okay. Jeff Dorman is an individual from Arca. They have a host of assets that they hold. I think Sushi is one of them. I don't know, Luna and some others are some of the assets that their fund holds. Okay. So obviously, their thesis on the market is multiple years out, right? They're not just thinking like, okay, yesterday was a really bad day in crypto, maybe we should start selling. Like, that's not really how their fund works. They're really thinking on a longer time frame, longer time horizon. And so the one thing that I really like talking about back and forth with Jeff is, how are they looking at the market conditions from the standpoint of macro and the Fed? And do they think crypto is in a bear market? And so I asked Jeff simply, what is your definition of a bear market? Well, he says something that lasts longer than 6 weeks. And this is now the 7th correction that we've had in crypto. That's, about 20% or so in the last 13 months. It's very common. Each time we were brought out of this quote unquote bear market within 4 to 8 weeks, led by different sectors, such as DeFi, and then NFTs, and then gaming, and then layer ones. And I agree with this. What I am finding somewhat hard to convince me on is that the current stage of how the Fed is impacting markets is not going to drive cryptos further down. I think that's the only question. Now, that doesn't mean that we start a new bear market and we're down at the lows for like 6 months or 1 year. It just means that temporarily I'm expecting a whole lot of chop in this area. Basically January and February to be just a choppy few months, even March, right? But what I have been telling our Advantage members is, in this particular area, right, you do not have to fear shorting from here down as much. We've had a significant amount of selling already take place all the way down in BTC. Same thing has happened if you look across the board, right? Even Atom, it's basically now hit a triple top. Okay, triple tops are very rare in crypto. More often than not, triple tops are indicating that this level right here is about to just get smashed through. Okay, and if that's the case, I'm expecting Atom to climb at least to $50 or $60, at least. Same thing with Near, right? Near, you could see one of the strongest structures in crypto right now, doing its best to hold above this trend line. But if it breaks down under this trend line, do you fear for, I don't know, a $2 Near token or $1? Not really. At first, I'm expecting Near to kind of bounce somewhere in this large previous reaccumulation range, right? Whether it just bounces like right at the top and it comes in, quick sweep, and then just rips out. That's one way. Or we have a prolonged, sell off and it just bleeds and bleeds and bleeds into March, which is when the first Fed rate hike is, which could be really the last thing that, people want to see. And they say, okay, the Fed hiked their rates. I don't think they're going to hike them further. And then from here, digital assets start, going back up. That's also plausible. The point is that right now it's time to start mapping out different plausible scenarios rather than just picking a direction and saying, I have high conviction in this and the market has to do this. All right. I promise you, this is not really the time to do that. If there's certain assets that have come to your levels, for example, I actually bought some sushi a little while back. I actually also bought some one token a little while back. I bought some Atom as well. Okay. I'm not going to disclose to you exactly when I bought it, but fact of the matter is I bought some, and it sure as heck wasn't the lows, but it sure as heck wasn't the all-time, local highs. All right. It's somewhere here in the middle here. But the point is that when you see good assets with good structure like Atom and Near and one token and FTM, you gotta suck it up and you gotta be able to buy and believe in these assets. Even if the next few weeks are gonna suck, ask yourself if you have conviction in these. And if you have conviction in these, at what point do you think the assets are going to go up? Map out some timeline for yourself, right? What are some events that you're looking to see where that might be the maximum pain for the market? And then after that, you're expecting some upside. Well, for me, the maximum pain is probably going to be sooner rather than later. I'm expecting all this macro stuff that's impacting the markets to wash through crypto. But then once again, good quality cryptos and the leading narratives, like maybe these newer L1s, FTM, one token, Near protocol, and then Atom, I'm hoping these start taking charge and showing us that they're ready to carry a few parts of the market much higher. I'm not seeing that yet, but I'm hoping to see it sooner rather than later. So if you read this article, the one thing that really comes out to me is what Jim Reed from Deutsche Bank said. He says that it seems that the age of ultra uber ludicrously loose monetary policy is coming to an end. It's inevitable it's inevitable markets will be impacted. The timing is open for debate though. The Fed raising interest rates and withdrawing liquidity is not what causes big, long-lasting market sell-offs. It's not until many years after very long Fed hike cycles when markets typically face sustained declines. There's simply not enough evidence to support sustained lower prices of risk assets today. And it is highly likely that 2022 is going to be another banner year for digital assets given the growth trajectory. Since the bear case currently stems overwhelmingly from unscientific assessments of when money printer goes burr, right, or stops going burr, we believe this fear will likely subside like it did in mid-2021. If digital assets fall meaningfully this year, it's not going to be because of the Fed. Now, I partially agree with that, but I partially disagree. I think digital assets can fall, but yes, it's not directly because of the Fed, but indirectly it will be because of the Fed, right? Because a tighter monetary policy also has restrictions on how funds operate, right? How people themselves operate. They may see the outstanding fears in the market. They may want to raise cash to buy other stocks, and they may sell crypto, which is a far riskier asset class, right? That's how most things work. People typically sell the highest risky stuff first, which is probably crypto, and then they go down the chopping block, and then they go down to stocks, and then they go down to gold or bonds, etc. Okay, that's how I believe the Fed is going to impact crypto. And then the other thing is, I believe the market itself has already sold off quite a bit. Okay, but doesn't mean we can't go down further. It doesn't mean we may not have a sustained and prolonged downtrend. Okay, and I think that's the real question: is how long will it last? And if so, how much further do we go down? And because that's up for debate and really no one knows, this is where you need to start doing some homework for yourself and ask, what do I see that's going to be assets that are going to do well in 2022? And like I said, I pointed out my list. You got to ask yourself, what's your list? And why do you think that's going to be the case? Because you can't just say, well, it's going to be the case because I own this coin, right? So anyway, that's all I got for y'all. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck to you. Cheers and take care.